Hello, today is May 12th, 2023, and we'll present two architects. We'll start with Will Alsop. Let's read a little bit about him. William Allen Alsop was born in December 1947 and died on the 12th of May 2018, exactly 5 years ago. So this is the reason we talk about him today, because he died on the 12th of May 2018, and today is the 12th of May, but 2023. Was a British architect and professor of architecture at the University for the Creative Arts, Canterbury School of Architecture in Great Britain. He was responsible for several distinctive and controversial modernist buildings, which are usually distinguished by their use of bright colors and unusual avant-garde forms. In 2000, Alsop won the Sterling Prize, the most prestigious architecture award in the United Kingdom, for the Peckham Library in London. We are going to see this building. This is what he said. That's the art of architecture. Again, the art of architecture, or should we say architecture, putting everything together in your own way. Again, your own way, not someone else's way, your own way. Here he was, an artist. He also painted, and we are going to see his artworks as well. I think we need architects like him, unconventional, with long hair if they have hair, unafraid to take risks, and building so-called controversial buildings. The more controversial, the better, I would say. Here he was. Hello, Mr. Alsop. We are sorry you died 5 years ago, but that's a finality we will all arrive at sooner or later. Will Alsop. Drawings, paintings by Will Alsop. He built something very similar to what we look at here. There are other architects who start actually an architecture project with an artwork, a large painting or a smaller painting or a drawing, abstract or whatever. So the relationship between architecture and art always existed and hopefully will always exist. Here he is painting. Not bad. We need to externalize our tumultuousness creatively, and why not through the art of painting? I guess John Ruskin was right when he said a great architect needs to be a great artist, a great painter, or a great sculptor. Maybe he put it a little bit too in stringent terms, but I do think that, yes, in general, the one who builds interesting things is also a visual artist. Although there are exceptions, like Walter Gropius, who couldn't draw. Walter Gropius always used someone to draw for him. Interesting, no? When you consider he was the founder of the Bauhaus. By the way, of Bauhaus, I intend to start an architecture school called Bauhaus. So I just put the letter C in front of HAOS and becomes Bauchaos. But in Romanian, it could be Bauhaus, BAUHAOS instead of HAUS. Bauhaus, pronounced almost identically, but you replace house with chaos, with house in Romanian. What about that? China Smart 21st Century City. It's a project that he didn't build, but it looks interesting, no? He did many projects like this. Some of them got built, and we are going to see them. Colorful, sometimes crazy, but I think we need craziness. The more, the better. Bradford, urban renewal. That's what he proposed, this square in front of the old buildings, Victorian as they are. Well, some of them, some are more modern. Will also. Cricket stand and university campus. He built this building and it's not bad. He had the courage to create an innovative structure, and good for him. He's not the only one who did something like this, you know, like Jan Kaplicki also built something for the cricket sport that is also futuristic and, you know, high-tech, you know, device, architectural device, very refined and very, you know, so-called forward-looking. Neo-futurist. This is not maybe neo-futurist, but it's clearly a modernistic structure on a stadium that belonged to another time or was initiated in a different time. Will also. Now you see, what do we see here? We just talked before I started the presentation about harmony through contrast. Well, the building by Will ALSOP does have a reference in a way to the old building because of the triangles. And here we see the triangle of the sloping roof. But otherwise, it's a, you know, it's a very different kind of architecture for all to see. And so is inside. And color, yes. Nothing wrong with color. And look at those beautiful clouds, you know, reflected by those large pieces of glass. Sculptural, no? In a certain sense, to a certain degree, you know, plastically dramatic. Columns that are not straight. Why not? We are going to see more of this when we talk about Daniel Lifskind. Was born on this day, the 12th of May, but not this year, of course. He's not a baby, barely born. Hotel du Département, 1994. This must be in France, but I don't know exactly where. But it's a very large building, imposing with its, you know, plastic, you know, vehemence. Toronto Apartments offices. This is a project which he didn't build, but it's rather interesting because you have this embroidered architecture at the base of the building, and then above this, you know, large prism that floats with a certain degree of élan vital. It was not built. Maybe some color would have helped, but in this proposal, the building remained whitish, if I am to say so. But even here we see the ornament. No, you know, the first floors, they have an embroidered appearance, an embroidered facade. I don't know what this is. Something maybe, you know, yes, these are apartments, you know, modeled for this particular complex, housing complex. And here he is, well, with the back towards us, maybe with a client or maybe with, I don't know, collaborator with some wine and a bottle of wine, and then some artworks by Will ALSOP on the walls. As you can see, an artist. Even a bicycle there on the right. Nice. And here we see other forms of, you know, it is enticing to see architects who are not you know, Homo economicus, or you know, accountants, or you know, engineers. Well, although engineers sometimes should be architects. Let's remember that Le Corbusier was very fond of engineers. He said, I love painters and engineers, but not architects. That's what Le Corbusier said. Nice. Forwood Children's Center, 2004. Now look at this here, you know, for children, but for their parents perhaps as well. A ludic space with a lot of color. Will also was himself probably a big child, you know, a child, I don't know, 65 years old or 60 years old. I remember watching an interview with, there was a film published on YouTube about Le Corbusier, and he introduced himself. He was reading because he didn't know English. Le Corbusier didn't know English very well. So he was reading. He said, I'm a young man, 72 years old young man. In that sense, perhaps also Will Alsop was, this is, I didn't know him personally, but looking at him as his work, I think he was a child, a grown-up child. Someone, you know, about whom you could easily say, you know, he was too old to grow up. But that's a quality, actually. Palestra, 2006. As you can see, he built a lot. Some buildings more intriguing and interesting than others, but he tried even here. As you can see, what is happening underneath the building. Will also. Projects in China. I like this work very much, particularly what I see on the right. Otherwise, a lot of glass, yes, and we know what the problems with glass are. You know, losses of energy. But the fascination with glass continues. The promises of the demagogical glass, because it is a demagogical material. It promises you paradise, but just looking towards an outside that seems to be unrestricted by the world that separates us from it is not enough. But look at this, you know, this is good architecture, this is good art, this is, you know, an expression of vitality. It's almost Dionysian. Not bad. China, the country that was ruled, you know, for a long time by Mao. I mean, I wonder what Mao would have thought if he saw something like this built in his country. Almer. I don't know how to read. Well, it's not an architecture that is completely different from what we saw, you know, in some other places by some other people. But it does have a joie de vivre, and it does have a, you know, verve. And it comes from art, essentially. It comes from art. Shanghai Kiss. That's that tall sculpture and installation that but you see the scale. The tower on the left side is much less tall than this, you know, installation or sculpture. I don't know how to call it. Sign. It's still a building, as you can see, but alarmingly distinct on the skyline of this city. Xi'an Hotel, some sketches. Did he write that poem? That's possible too, and we can only salute architects who also write poems. Floating ever the floating sand, a breeze drifts through the garden, a dappled light feeds the flowers, a tea gives growth to the grass, to the guest, sorry. All moments combine, a respite, a rest, a contemplation on the pinnacle of history, new views on everything. I don't know if he wrote it, probably not. Maybe it's a Chinese poet, but maybe it's not an accident that a short poem is on the same page with some sketches that he made for this project, and it was not built, but for imagination is perhaps enough. For the imagination of the ones who contemplate the project. Playfulness, creativity, some irresponsibility perhaps. Let's not forget what Zvi Hecker said, that a great building should be illegal. Maybe some illegal elements here and there, that's okay. For an artist, it's okay, I would say. And this is the top view of what he proposed. Playful. Too bad it was not built. Even if for the imagination is maybe enough. Colorium, 2001, an office building. And it does have colors. I don't know if it has all the flags of the world on it. The man was also a painter. He loved color, so the building shows it. It's okay. The color inside as well. Some graphic lights on the ceiling in the manner that Daniel Lipskind used in Berlin in his Jewish museum. In several projects by Will Alsop appears this prism that sits on top of another prism, and the one at the top is usually ready to take off. Paddle Dock Hotel, another proposal that was not built. A dandy inside, staring at us seductively. For London, but it was not built. Abu Dhabi Hotel, another proposal that was not built. Dancing, and painting on the right, and then an architect's vision on the left, was not built. La Fosca, another project that was not built, but we see here again the verve of this gentleman, Will Alsop. Anything goes. Just allow the artist to express himself, and that's what you get. I wish it was built, but it was not. It would have been interesting if it was built. An adventurous architect, that's for sure. Raffles City, well, he built these, and they are not the smallest buildings in the world. Raffles City, it's almost a city within a city. Why did he complicate himself? Because this is the role of art, to fight off insufficient reality through, distortions, through oppositions, through deviant gestures. Raf Lux Hotel, interesting, no? Raf Lux. Is there such a thing? Raf or raw lux? Or probably not. But I like the oxymoron. Raf Lux Hotel. The public building that he built. I don't know exactly what's here. Some kind of a ludic building, for events having to do with fun. No restraint. This gentleman will also have no frontiers, no barriers, no fear. Chromatically, no fear. Look at the windows. Zhuhai, another building that was not built. I don't even know where he proposed it. Do we need the crazy artists? I think we do. I think we do. What would life be without them? Although sometimes you can grow tired of art as well. Gao Yang, 2009, 2010. That's the building that I like the most from what he did. Plus the building in Canada, which you are going to see very soon. Look here, it's non-conformism in action. And it doesn't look bad. I don't know what's going on in these volumes, in those spaces there, but I imagine there are some functions, so to speak, but it's almost irrelevant. There are things that stir up your curiosity, and you'd love to experience them, to explore them. It's an architectural event. This is what it is. I mean, just one single piece here, it's an architectural event, but the whole of it, even more so. So, some people think just Frank Gehry is in the world who makes crazy things. No, there are other architects beyond also Will also, but he's one of them. He received the Sterling Prize for this work, which in my opinion is not the most interesting, but committees that offer awards do not like excess too much, I think. Anyway, this is the building. It's a library. And he received the biggest prize in architecture in Great Britain, the Sterling Prize. If it was not written there with big letters, library, we wouldn't know really. But this facade in the back of the building, I find it more interesting actually. And again, color. Not too many libraries in the world look like this. And you see the buildings around the library. His building doesn't have anything to do with the surroundings. The interior of the library. Why shouldn't the library be also, ludic? Why not? To combine learning with pleasure, with joy, with playing. He enjoyed themselves doing himself doing architecture, doing buildings, library. It's so naive in a way that word there, library. Maybe it would have been better if no name was attached to the building. The Sharp Center, Ontario College of Art and Design. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we see what Will Alsop is truly capable of. The Sharp Center, and it is sharp indeed, the Ontario College of Art and Design, Canada. Here it is. Not bad. I like to think that the students who study in this college are stirred up, to be imaginative, to be creative, to be non-conformist. What could be a better advice to them or a better inspiration? At night, above those older buildings, and look at it, the monster of creativity floating courageously and irresponsibly above some, buildings with sloping roofs and so on. Nice. This is the role of art, actually, to provoke, épater la bourgeoisie. And that's what the building by Will Alsop attempts to do, and probably succeeds. Some of his buildings are like his art, like his paintings. I mean, look at the buildings around it, and all of a sudden is this building which proclaims a different, mentality, so to speak. And it is a different mentality. Now, maybe if it was a faculty of or a university of, I don't know, economics or, I don't know, public relations or international affairs, would have been less legitimate to be like this. But it is a college of art and design, for God's sake. So it's just fine. This is what art is supposed to do. To shock. Housing. Even the houses he proposed, like it's a housing complex. There is some playfulness here as well, isn't there? I don't know what the letter N stands for. I like to imagine that it does have a meaning, but it's not necessary, really. Could do also meaningless things sometimes. 151 City Road proposal from 2007 was not built, a tower, an interesting tower. I think he was a little bit too exuberant for most clients and most societies, but it's even amazing that he built so much considering his exuberance. He was not fearful, that's for sure. Will also didn't know fear, or I imagine he didn't know fear. If I look, looking at his buildings, look at what's going on at the bottom of the building. It's Vasily Kandinsky there, kind of. a Pope, Vasily Kandinsky, Langfang, another proposal which was not built. He wanted to change the world. And, you know, I don't know if he succeeded, he probably didn't, but here and there he left his mark. I mean, why shouldn't the skin of a building be like this? Why not? I think it would look quite interesting. Artworks, and with this we end this short presentation about Will Alsop on the day when he died 5 years ago. And the artworks are like some of his buildings. Will Alsop, the architect who painted or the painter who built. The spiral, which fascinates so many creators. We remember that when James Joyce asked Brâncuș to draw a portrait of him, initially Brâncuș drew a figurative portrait of Joyce, and Joyce didn't like it, and then he did an abstract one, which was exactly a spiral. He was good as a painter as well, I would say, Will Alsop. Okay, and now we go to the second presentation, just a second.